Hello, my name is Marina Shepelsky, and I'm a New York and New Jersey divorce and family law attorney. Today I'd like to focus on the state of New York and the 10 most frequently asked questions and answers about divorce and family law that we receive in my practice and in every area of family law that pretty much comes up in connection with divorce. The first question is, what is a no-fault divorce? Like many states, New York has several grounds for divorce, and the most frequently or commonly used ground or reason for divorce is irretrievable breakdown of marital relations for more than 6 months. In simple language, that means that for more than 6 months, the two spouses just don't get along. It doesn't have to be anything serious, but if people don't get along, that's one of the grounds that we are allowed to use for the divorce, and really, that's what a no-fault divorce is. The next question frequently asked is, what is the difference between a no-fault divorce and an uncontested divorce? An uncontested divorce basically means that both spouses, the husband and wife, agree to get divorced. And of course, New York now recognizes same-sex marriages, so it could be that both husbands or both wives agree to the divorce. So they agree in principle that they wish to get divorced and on the reason for that divorce. And again, the commonly used reason now is irretrievable breakdown of a marital relation for over 6 months. What is the procedure? That's the third question. What is the procedure for divorce in New York? Well, the technical procedure is that the plaintiff or whoever files for the divorce, whoever asks the court for the divorce, that's usually the plaintiff or the moving side, the plaintiff gets an index number from the court of their jurisdiction. And by the way, stepping aside, there's a rule in New York that even if you live in one county, if both sides agree more or less, you can file in any county of New York State and that would be just fine. So some people end up filing in counties that either move quicker or perhaps are more convenient for them or for their attorneys, and that's considered just fine, and you will still get a judgment of divorce at the end. Coming back to the third question of what is the procedure for a divorce, every divorce gets started with a summons. Now, in some cases, we prepare a summons with notice, and that's enough to get a divorce going, especially if it becomes an uncontested divorce and both sides agree. Or we do a summons with a complaint. A complaint is a document that lays out, first of all, the grounds for divorce, and second of all, the relief or what kind of things the plaintiff spouse is asking the court to give them. Oftentimes, it's child support, it's custody, it's alimony or spousal maintenance, and it's equitable distribution. And equitable distribution means you're asking the court to divide up the marital or communal property. Of course, there's a lot of things that come up further in the process of divorce, but for the procedural part, to start a divorce, you need a summons and sometimes a summons and complaint. It's very important that the defendant spouse gets served, or there's a process service with the divorce papers. And that's another issue to discuss, and that's my next question. What is process service like in divorces? Well, for New York State, any divorce requires personal service of the defendant spouse, which means you cannot mail them the papers, you cannot glue them on their door, you cannot give them to their brother or their sister or family member. Your spouse must be personally served. They have to receive the papers that you file asking for a divorce in hand. They have to personally be served. People often ask, how much does it cost to get divorced? Some law firms charge a fixed legal fee when they know approximately what the process is going to be like, and oftentimes when we know that it's uncontested, that both sides agree, and sometimes they just simply need the paperwork to get divorced, it's a fixed legal fee. However, a lot of cases require lengthy litigation. Some cases we spend months and years in court fighting or litigating different issues, from child custody, child support, visitation, holidays, to things like one parent moving, to alimony or spousal maintenance, and dividing up property. And the next question is, how long does it take to get divorced? In New York State, it could take anywhere from 4 to 6 months for an uncontested divorce, and of course much longer, up to a year or even 2 years, and some people longer, for litigation-based divorces. So those are the cases that go on for years. I'm sure you heard of them. Your friends or family co-workers have been involved. But cases where people cannot agree on various issues inside of their divorce, those can take a long time. Another question that people often ask is, they will say, well, my husband and I, or my wife and I, we're not yet ready to be divorced. We just want to separate. We want to live separately and see where that goes. What is the process of separation? In New York State, a couple can put together a good comprehensive separation agreement, file that with the court, and after 1 year, get a divorce based on that separation agreement. The separation agreement is similar to a divorce settlement stipulation in that it lays out the details of what is going to happen when people are separated for 1 year, and after that, once they're divorced. And again, if there's children, if there's property, the separation agreement allows the two sides to list out the issues and how they agree to deal with them for the 1 year of separation when they're living apart from each other, and after that, once they're divorced. The next question is, I would like to get divorced, but I can't find my spouse. Believe it or not, that comes up all the time. People get separated, they don't see each other for years. One person moves to another state, and all of a sudden, the other person is ready to get divorced, but they don't know where their husband or wife is. They don't know where their spouse is. What do we do? There's several ways to deal with this. The first, of course, is we would hire an investigator or process server to check DMV records, driving records, voting records, and other kind of location records that are now available online and through various special services to find out the new address of the spouse. If we cannot locate them and we cannot effectively serve them and we don't know where to serve them, there's another process available through the court, and that's called divorce by publication or service by publication. There is a way to effect process of service in a marriage and in divorce cases by publication. We ask the court for a special order to direct us to do publication service. The next question is, I'm getting divorced. Perhaps you were served with papers and your wife or husband filed for a divorce. Will you have to go to court? Well, that depends. If you agree with your spouse, if you agree with the grounds that are listed as the reason for the divorce, if you have worked out in detail how to deal with children, with property, with alimony or spousal support, with child support, you never have to go to court. Perhaps the two sides can hire attorneys and either mediate or just simply agree, have an agreement about all the issues in their divorce, and they never have to go to court. A referee will sign off on your divorce when they see that you had worked hard on settling it and you have a settlement agreement and everything else worked out. You never have to go to court. Of course, some people have to go to court because they cannot agree by themselves, even with the best lawyers and mediation. They just simply cannot work things out. They cannot agree on all the issues in a divorce, and of course they will have to go to court, and an attorney can often not be able to predict how many times the people will have to go to court, their client or the spouses. There will be various court appearances for various issues, and that will have to happen and work itself out. What is the process of divorce mediation is another common question we receive. That's question number 9. Well, when people get divorced, sometimes they choose to do a process called mediation or collaborative divorce in some states. In mediation, both sides get lawyers and they both meet up with a mediator to go through the issues of their divorce. And of course, it's different for every couple, for every family. And they try to settle or mediate on every issue and come up with a resolution that will satisfy everyone involved. And the mediation will help the people or the spouses put together a divorce stipulation agreement that will make everybody perhaps not happy but satisfied that, their needs were addressed. Finally, well, we're getting divorced, and what if we have children? It seems so complicated. What do we do? in divorces that involve children, there's several issues that people focus on. First of all, there's the question of custody. There's two kinds of custody. There's physical custody or residential custody. In other words, who will your child or children live with? Which parent will they will live with more on a permanent basis? In other words, perhaps they will live with mom or with dad 5 times a week or 5 days per week, and then there's weekends where visitation comes in. So that's the next issue of children. Visitation. Visitation talks about which parent gets to spend time with the kids on which days. Oftentimes people break down visitation by the weekdays and weekday nights, in other words, Monday through Friday, and weekends. The weekends is when traditionally both parents are off. Of course, nowadays people have different kinds of jobs with different shifts and different schedules, and we try to address every single family very personally in a unique way. But generally speaking, it's usually the week and the weekends and holidays, school recesses, and breaks from school. That's visitation. The other kind of custody that I mentioned is legal custody. So everyone understands more or less what physical or residential custody is, but many people don't really have a good idea of what legal custody is. Legal custody is more or less the decision-making power that parents share when they live together. But what happens when they get divorced? Some couples agree to have joint or shared legal custody of their children, and yet one parent is given physical custody. Some couples decide that one parent holds both legal and physical custody of the children and gets to be the primary decision maker, but spell out how the other parent contributes with decision making. It all comes down for legal custody to decision making. And finally, when there's children involved, there's financial issues, and that's the issue of child support. There's basic child support that's driven in New York by the guidelines or the laws. The laws say, for example, that the non-custodial parent, in other words, the parent that moves out of the household, they have to pay 17% of their gross adjusted income to the custodial parent, who often is the mother, for the basic support for their child. On top or in addition to the basic child support, there's additional costs or add-ons such as daycare, such as after-school programs, such as unreimbursed medical and dental expenses for the children, such as tutoring or sports or other activities that the children are on. Those are usually not covered by the basic child support and get to be added on to the basic child support, and the parents either work that out, they work out the proportion or percentage that each parent has to contribute for that, or if they can't agree, we ask the court to make a ruling, and the court decides how much it should be based on the two parents' incomes. Of course, the court is interested in seeing the financial paperwork and hearing from the parents about what the financial situation is. There's also right now a cap on the combined income of $143,000. It's a technical issue, and that's of course to be discussed in each case separately, very personally approached and discussed with your lawyers. And that's pretty much my summary of the 10 most frequently asked questions in divorce and family law. My name is Marina Shepelsky. I own the law offices of Marina Shepelsky PC in New York. Our address is 2415 Avenue U, Brooklyn, New York 11229, and our phone number is 718-769-6352. Please find us online at divorcelawyernewyork.org. And good luck to you in everything that you do in your family law endeavors.